Well, I appreciate you putting me after Wally. Scott, I was a little bit nervous, as Wally was, to follow Coach Thorson back there. So the guys have been working hard this season. We're definitely a young and very inexperienced team at the bottom end of the lineup, and then again at the top end of the lineup. Through the middle is our bread and butter. It's where our experience is at. We started out the season a little bit slow, kind of the way we thought we would. We kind of went into the Christmas break maybe, kind of backstepping a little bit. And we used the Christmas break as kind of a rebounding springboard to to focus on a few details that we needed to focus on, and conditioning being one of those. And I'll find out. And the guys found out what the purpose of that track facility is just north of the building, and they finally found out that that's for the running stadium stairs up and down over and over and over again. And I don't know, it definitely didn't hurt them any. They looked like they were hurting, but they looked a lot better on the mat. So I think today's going to be another good day for those stadium steps, and probably tomorrow too. Anyway, we went out to Pier last night and probably wrestled one of the top teams in the state, definitely the top team in the ESD, I thought we wrestled very, very well. The score was obviously quite lopsided. I believe it was 53 to 13 or something like that. But given up, I think I forfeited in 3 weight classes, not because I had to, but because with some of those younger kids, I pick and choose where I'm going to use them, and throwing them in against some mismatches just it's not the time or place for that to happen right now. So we did send out 3 forfeits, I believe, which we don't like to do, but kind of looking towards the future a little bit with some of those guys. And so 18 of those points are just given up for free. And we did Spencer Huber is at the bottom of our lineup, an 8th grader. He's wrestling very, very well right now at 106 pounds. He only weighs about 103 maybe, 102. Depending on how many fishing weights he puts in his cheeks. And he went out to wrestle, I think, the number 3 or 4 rated kid in the state, and took him down to the wire. I mean, he really wrestled him very, very well. Wrestled a very smart match, and was very happy with his performance. Ended up on the short end of things, but it definitely improved from the last time we saw Jevin Keys when he got pinned in the second period. And then kind of moved up, Michael Montoya's a freshman for us at 120 pounds. A young kid, very, very inexperienced as far as varsity competition goes. He did wrestle some JV for us last year as an 8th grader, but kind of got thrown into the lineup because of just of a vacancy. And Mike knows the sport of wrestling. He's been around it for a long time, but he's a freshman. He's a young guy. He hasn't. He's going to figure out that the sooner that he gets physical and maybe becomes an animal on the mat that maybe his mom doesn't appreciate very well in the stands. When he finds that out, he'll start winning some matches. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And Mason Stroll, another freshman at the bottom of the lineup, kind of getting thrown into the wolves a little bit. Very, very talented wrestler, and he's got a little bit of wrestling background. His cousin Logan Smith is obviously a returning state champion for us, and so he's been watching Logan for the last several years, and kind of, I'm sure, has aspirations to try to match or surpass Logan on the awards podium at some point in time in his career. He's looking very tough. He ran into a buzzsaw last night against very, very quality opponents. Actually, he beat his kid from Mitchell, or from Pier, and then wrestled, I think, maybe 2 or 3 kids in the state against Chamberlain. So he had a tough night, but was wrestling very, very well. And then Casey Skillingstad, and we really kind of jump into our meat and potatoes in the middle of our lineup with starting at 132 pounds with Casey Skillingstad, a returning state place winner from us from a year ago. Matt Huber is a 2-time state qualifier, looking to get onto the podium. And then we weighed 2 guys in at 145 pounds. We weigh in both Levi Davis, a freshman, again, very, very talented freshman, and he's going to be a very good wrestler in the years to come. And Logan Smith, returning state champion from a year ago, and our lone senior on the team, our lone returning senior on the team. We weighed both those guys in at 145, and Logan gets the tougher of the two kids, either 145 or 152, and Levi gets the lesser experienced of the two kids. And we just have to play our matchup game, and we do that because we don't really have a true 152-pounder. So we fill that 152-pound class with a 145-pound wrestler. Casey and Matt both turned the tables on their opponents from Pierre. We wrestled Pierre in the Watertown duels the first weekend of December. Casey and Matt both lost their matches, pretty convincingly up in Watertown. I think one score was 5-1, the other score was 6-1, I believe. And both Casey and Matt turned the tables on their opponent last night. Casey, I believe, won a 3-1 decision over the number 2 ranked kid in the state, and Matt won 6-3 and really dominated the match. I mean, really controlled it from the beginning whistle to the end, and I thought probably wrestled his best match of his career to this point. And so very happy with those two, the way they wrestled last night. Levi Davis goes out really hard every single time, and Logan Smith, of course, we know what to expect from Logan. He's been banged up quite a bit in his career, and this year has been no exception. He got hurt the first tournament, the first weekend in December. He got hurt a little bit up there, didn't finish the tournament. Then came back the following week and tried to wrestle through it a little bit at the Yankton tournament, and just couldn't do it, and lost a match in the process, which he wasn't too happy about. So I set him down till through the Christmas break and put him back on the mat again last night. And you can tell, I mean, he's gonna be a tough opponent for anybody to wrestle, but his timing probably off just a little bit. That takes time to come back, and the more he's on the mat, the quicker that'll come back. And he's feeling pretty good about things right now. Strength is coming back, and his conditioning has always been there. So we're looking forward to things to come from Logan. James Hesick fills in at 160 for us, and I thought wrestled an exceptional match last night. He wrestled an opponent who beat him 20-4 the first weekend in December. And James actually had this kid beat. He was ahead by 3, probably going into the last minute of the match, and was reversed to his back and eventually got off, and ended up losing by 2 to a kid that beat him 20-4. So I mean, that's quite a sway right there. He could have, with -1 mistake, he wins that match, and I thought he wrestled very well. C.J. Warren a little bit the same way, wrestling one of the top opponents in the state. Again, wrestling right with his opponent last night, being very physical, as physical as I've ever seen C.J. wrestle. Very intense, wasn't giving away anything. Made 1 mistake in the second period, and it cost him the match. Just something, and it was a detail that we've been working on all Christmas long. And I asked C.J. when he walked off the mat, was there a mistake out there? And he knew exactly what it was. That tells me that he understands what he's doing out there. It's not just fly by your pants kind of thing for him. He understands where he's at on the mat, and he'll make the adjustments and be very competitive down the stretch. We don't fill the 182-pound class with a true varsity wrestler. We oftentimes do that with a JV kid and Zach Seeley, who is another senior, hasn't been out for a couple years, but he's a strong kid, willing to work hard for the team, and we use him where matchups are appropriate. We did not use him last night against Pierre because I've been putting him out against probably the number 1 rated kid in the state, and just wasn't ready to do that at that point in time. Thomas Cruz is a junior for us at 195 pounds, and we'll use him again at 195 or 220, depending on the matchups, and working very hard for us, making improvements each day in the practice room, and he's kind of training our big surprise of the year, which is a freshman by the name of Jordan Leitner. And Jordan playing a very talented football player, I believe, on the football team, and you'll be watching him, I'm sure, for the next several years out there on the football field. Jordan is a freshman, about 200 pounds. We weigh him in at 195 pounds, and we'll wrestle him at 195 or 220, again, depending on where the matchups fit. And this is his very first experience of wrestling of any kind. And so his first day of wrestling was November 14th this year, and in my opinion, he's probably the best 195-pound freshman in the state. He's a very talented athlete. He's not a wrestler probably just quite yet, but he is a very talented athlete that if he sticks it out, he'll be on the podium multiple times by the time he's a senior. So we're real excited about Jordan. And then we have a couple heavyweights, and Royce Reisner and Robbie Borgstrom. They kind of flip-flop back and forth a little bit as far as wrestle-offs go, so both guys have been getting some experience there. Experience is what they need. They need to get out on the mat and wrestle a little bit more to become a little bit more competitive. But each one is working hard and is in the room every day, which is really all we can ask for right now. Our numbers for the program are probably down more than they've been maybe ever before, but that's not uncommon. You look across the state right now at any of the tournaments that you go to. If it's a varsity and a JV tournament, the JV lineups are just really, really thin all over. You have one or two programs that really pack them in, and then after that, it's just a struggle to fill not only varsity lineups, but JV lineups is especially hard to fill. So our numbers at the high school level are down. We graduated about a dozen seniors last year, and only brought in, well, we really didn't bring in any freshmen. The only freshmen that we have in the room were already in our room last year as 8th graders, so you can't really count them as new guys that came in. The good thing about it is we have 17 8th graders out right now. 17 8th graders, I believe, and about 8 or 9 or 10 7th graders. And the 6th graders kind of going back and forth between basketball and wrestling a little bit, and they do both sports right now. And it's for them, any given day we might have 10 6th graders in the room. So if we keep building those numbers at the middle school level like that, our numbers at the high school level will definitely rebound very quickly. And there's some very good young wrestlers down there at the middle school. If we just keep their aspirations high and keep their goals set, they'll be great wrestlers for us in the future. We've got a couple little coaching changes that happened throughout the season. Tyler Schering did not return, and Riley Smith came back from Rapid City Stevens. Riley Smith graduated from Yankton, one of the better wrestlers to ever go through, in my opinion. And he graduated from Mount Marty, and while he was at Mount Marty, he was volunteer assistant or some sort of assistant under Murray McGlone and myself for a year, or for several years. And then upon graduation, went out to Rapid City and got a teaching job out there, and has been coaching at Rapid City Stevens for the past 4, 5, 6 years, and he came back home. And we're lucky to have him. He's a great addition to the practice room, and he does a fantastic job. Brings a lot of knowledge from obviously one of the top programs in the state, Rapid City Stevens. And we're glad to have that. And with the retirement of Ken Schaefer after 75 years in the school district, Murray McGlone stepped up and to try to fill his shoes. I will say that he has woefully failed in that capacity. One of the main jobs that Coach Schaefer had was to remind me to get the mats down the night before the Yankton invite. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare to get the mats set up if the mats aren't, at least half of them aren't down. So that was really Coach Schaefer's only job last year, and Coach McGlone couldn't even handle that. So we're probably looking. So if anybody's interested in helping out the wrestling program, especially if you're a big guy, maybe the heavyweight size. I see a couple guys over there that I need some push around those Robbie Borgstrom and Royce Reisner a little bit. So anyway, we've got a couple home matches coming up, and we've got Huron and Mitchell and Watertown all coming to town here in the next couple weeks. Mitchell and Huron are two of the better teams in ESD. They'll be good matches, and if we can create matchups in our favor, we'll be able to keep the matches close. Watertown comes to town on Saturday morning, afternoon, early afternoon. I guess the paper called it a matinee. Is that right, James? And so we get to that match came down to the heavyweight match last time, and so it's one that we'll try to wiggle our matchups around in our favor and keep it close and give ourselves a chance to win at the end. So our goals for the season are to continue to improve. and continue to keep our goals set for February. We're out of, obviously we're not in contention for any ESD or championships or anything like that, so we don't have to worry about that, and there's no pressure on us, the pressure's on everybody else, and we'll just keep on working and trying to improve and see what happens come February.